Hello book lovers and welcome back or welcome to Natcat's Bookish Cafe. Today I will be talking about 5 books that I think you should read this fall if you're looking to get a little cozy. Alright, so while I personally could probably curl up with any book during the fall season and feel in my most cozy mode, I did pull 5 books off of my shelf that I thought were good books to read in the fall, but don't fall into like the really spooky genres or anything like this. This is just books that I think you'll have a really good fun time or even relaxing time reading when you're curled up maybe next to a little campfire or on the couch with lots of blankets and your fluffy cat, things like that. These are just 5 books where I think you can just really let go, escape the world for a while, and just relax and smell the pumpkin spice. So the first book on this list will be familiar to a lot of people, and that is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. So this has a lot to do with those comfy feelings of nostalgia. This is a book that was turned into a movie that I have loved since childhood. I actually read this for the first time last year, so the book itself doesn't hold much nostalgia. It's really just the story. Even though the book itself is rather different than the movie, you still get those cozy fantasy vibes hanging out in a, kind of castle with your, feisty little fire friend, and, a wizard. So this book follows Sophie, and she is the oldest daughter of a family that owns a hat store. She's kind of resigned herself to a rather simple, uneventful life, but one day she is cursed by the Witch of the Waste, I believe is what she called, and she sets out on a journey, since she is now a decrepit old lady, to just start living her life anew, seeing as she has less time than she expected. She comes across Howl's Moving Castle and decides to become his cleaning lady. Sophie is a lot more sassy in this book than she is in the movie, and Howl is a much more whinier and dramatic in this book. There is also no setting of a war as far as I can remember in this, though that's a very big part of the movie, but since there's no war setting, it's a little bit more relaxed, and you just get to spend time with these characters in a cozy setting. It is a middle grade, so it's really easy to get through. Some people could probably read this in a day. I think I read it maybe in 2 days, and I'm not the fastest reader, so if you're just looking to spend the day engrossed in a great story that you're familiar with, but also has, some slight changes as well, I would highly suggest Howl's Moving Castle. And the next book on this list is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So while this isn't my favorite book of his, it does have a very cozy setting and topics such as found family and just really enjoying the small things in life and just living life to the fullest. It's set in a small tea shop that's pretty isolated, so you don't have the hustle and the bustle of, any cities or anything like that. We are following Wallace, who at the beginning of this book passes away, and a spirit makes its way to this tea shop, which is run by Hugo. He's obviously not very happy to be dead because he's like, I have a lot of work to do. But they're like, that work doesn't matter anymore because you have now died, and you need to come to accept that so that you could move on to what's next. This book does feature a grumpy old man and a dog, and we all love those to add to our cozy settings. Like I mentioned, we have the found family aspect of it. Wallace spent a lot of time alone, and no one showed up to his funeral really. And so it was really great to watch him have the second chance at really forming really strong bonds with people that he really cares about. This book does deal with some heavier topics as well, such as grief. And it also has kind of a side plot that follows this spirit that roams around the house that is lost as well. So it does have a little bit of those paranormal aspects which make it good for the Halloween, but it is overall really heartwarming, really about second chances. There's TJ Klune's usual humor in here. There's also a lovely little romance that is just really soft, and we love to see. This book is really about coming to the end of one life and starting another, which is kind of, what fall is all about, a life coming to the end, so then things can then begin to regrow again in the spring. So I think this is a wonderful book to drink with a cup of tea, since it takes place at a tea shop. The third book on this list is a book I actually read for school, and you'll notice that because it has a ton of tabs in it. And I just had such a wonderful reading experience of this that I think that people should read it just for pleasure. And that is Water Lily by Ella Cara Deloria. So she is, this author studied the indigenous tribe that the story is based off, specifically their forms of communication. So I did read this for a communication class. So when you're reading this, you can really tell that the author is an ethnographer of communication. I hope I said that word right. Just because it focuses a lot on how people in this community communicate with each other, and not just verbally, but through their actions and through their hierarchies. We follow a young girl called Water Lily who lives in a tribe. This is kind of takes place before the tribe has interacted with the colonists. There are some references to them in this book, and it does describe an outbreak of smallpox as well. So this is kind of like right before a lot of destruction happened to the tribes, and it was my first experience with reading about indigenous people in not a contemporary setting, and it was just really great to watch their culture before it had any sort of influence from colonialism or any sort of trauma that stemmed from colonialism. They are obviously living very close with nature, and in the fall, especially the beginning of the fall, nature is putting on a beautiful show through her death, pretty much. So just really being immersed in nature in this book was a really relaxing experience. We follow Water Lily in her day-to-day life as she grows up, just watching the way that people interact with each other, the rituals they perform for different stages of life or celebrations for different accomplishments. So overall, it had a really great sense of community in the story, which I really enjoyed. There also was a little bit of a romance in the story that I thought was really sweet. There was also some heartbreaking moments as well. As I mentioned, there is an outbreak of smallpox, which of course causes the tribe to lose some of their members. I just had such a wonderful time being able to observe this community over the course of a few years, just to watch our character as she grew up in this community, and watch her grow into the woman that she is at the end of this. I also enjoyed the backstory that we got of her mother as well. It was rather interesting. And overall, I just thought that it was a really relaxing experience, even though traumatic things do occur in this book. Overall, it really does focus on the day to day, the good and the bad, and even the mundane. But overall, it was just a really great story, and it's pretty short. So, if you're at all interested, I would highly suggest that you pick it up. All right, so the second to last book is a well-known romance. It's one of my favorites, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And the reason I chose this romance for a cozy fall setting, even though the cover doesn't quite give that, when I think of fall, I kind of think of the beginning of school, and this does have a college setting. So I feel that that makes it a good romance to read in the fall time. In this book, we follow Olive and Adam, and Olive is an undergrad and Adam is a professor. He's not her professor, just want to point that out. And this has a fake dating grump and sunshine trope in it. I really enjoyed their relationship. I thought there was a lot of good humor in this book. I thought it was really sweet. I enjoyed Adam's protectiveness, and I did enjoy the demisexual rep that was presented through Olive as well. It was one of the first books that I read with demisexual rep, which is why it had such a big impact on me. I liked that our main character, our female, was in a more male-dominated field, and that she was, working hard to make her way and was dedicated to advancing her career despite obstacles that she was facing. Overall, I just think that a sweet, mushy romance is a wonderful way to stay warm and cozy on a cool fall night. And for the final book, I have gone ahead and selected Watership Down by Richard Adams. So this is a rather, in my opinion, slow-paced book. I think it took me like a whole month to make my way through this. In the spooky season, I think a lot of times you're drawn to like faster paced books like thrillers or horrors. But sometimes you just want to slow down a little and just enjoy the moment, and you can really do that with this book. In this book, we are following a group of rabbits. So there are no humans in this book, which is sometimes a nice change in scenery. And they have decided to leave their warren. Is that what it's called? Because one of them had a premonition that that area was no longer safe. So we just follow them as they decide to head out and try to find a new home. And once they find a new home, since it was only male rabbits that left, they go out to see if they can find some females that would like to join their family. This book is not always super lighthearted. There are definitely some darker moments in it, including death or war or oppression. I feel this is one of those books that you can just really get immersed in. You don't have to, you're not going to experience any of, the everyday human dramas or issues because you don't have human characters. So at the same time, the characters are still relatable enough for you to connect with them and to root for them. I think that this is just a really relaxing story that you can spend hours and hours reading. You have a journey, so you get changes in scenery. You also get to meet different people and overcome other different obstacles. So it's just got a little bit of everything in it. And even though this book took me a while to finish, I did really enjoy my reading experience, though I will admit it could maybe be like 100 or so pages less. So if you're looking for a slower paced story to get lost in this fall, I would definitely suggest Watership Down. All right, guys, so those are 5 books that I think you could get cozy with, get fully immersed with, and just enjoy the cooling of the weather around us, the falling of the leaves, and maybe even the falling of the rain. Let me know down below if you have any cozy recommendations, because I have to admit I struggled even to just find 5 books that I've read that were like super cozy. So now I definitely want to like read more of those, especially come November. So let me know your recommendations down below, and thank you as always for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!